Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rebel News live stream on this, a Friday, October 16th, 2020. And look who it is. It's me, David Menzies, and my co-host, Andrew Says, a.k.a. Andrew Chapados. Now, half of you are probably going, oh, this is good. This is interesting. What a treat. Half of you are saying, what kind of trick is this? Where is Ezra? Well, the big boss man is usually in this space at this time on Fridays as well as Mondays and Wednesdays. And of course, it's Sheila Gunn Reid and I on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But, you know, when you're Ezra, he's like that guy in the Ed Sullivan show of yesteryear, spinning all those plates on those sticks. He's extremely busy. Well, if it didn't happen in 1989.
I know the reference, David, all right?
Yeah. So Ezra is, well, we'll just say he's on assignment. But how the heck are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, David. Thank you. He's out somewhere, but that reminds me of our Hornets that we call them, Mocha and Kean. They're out somewhere too. Everybody's somewhere today, except for us. We're here.
Sheila's out somewhere, and we have a few people taking a well-deserved day off because they're going to be working on weekends. See, that's the thing, Andrew. We have been putting the pedal to the metal in terms of news coverage, whereas when you look at the mainstream media, they've scaled back. It's too dangerous to go outside, you see, folks.
Well, you know, they don't want to kill people. You know?
And they don't want to be killed.
So here today, Mr. Menzies and I, besides limitless elder abuse that's going to happen from me to you, we're taking super chats, we're taking your comments. If you want us to read your comment or question on air, please donate through a super chat. The more you donate, the more characters you get, so the longer your question can be. We'll be showing some of our latest videos and talking about the news of the day, which is usually about sweet, sweet David Menzies.
Well, no, not in this case. I think our first video, and it's a beauty, folks. You know, Avi Yamini has been turning out such great content from us down under, and he's got a story about a Defiant hair salon. Check this out.
I'm here on Poth Road in Hughesdale, where the owners of this barber say that they are opening their doors tomorrow, defying the lockdown restrictions inspired by Harry in Berwick. They're putting a call out to everyone that wants their hair cut to come here from tomorrow from 8:30 a.m. And they're asking any barbers and hairdressers that are looking for work in these times to give them a buzz. 90173727.
We've just decided that we're going to open our doors tomorrow because we're going to go bankrupt.
And so why now? What's inspired you to do this?
Seeing Harry open the other day and seeing the amazing support he got just made us go, well, even if there's clientele of ours that are against what we're doing, we know that for every maybe customer we'll lose, hopefully we'll get another 20, 30 customers in this place.
So Harry's inspired you guys to do this?
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a local salon in Hughesdale that say that you've inspired them to open their doors tomorrow from 8:30. How do you react?
Absolutely staggered. I'm rapt because that's what we're trying to do, is to get the small business open so they can support their families, support their own livelihood and get on with life. Just brilliant.
Roger is new to Australia. He's on a temporary residency. We've had not 1 cent from the government for our business, even personally, no Centrelink, nothing. I've just had my parenting payments cut off, just who knows why. So we're basically like, if we don't work, we can't pay our rent, we can't do anything. And this is a new business. We literally opened a month before the shutdown. Yeah.
Nearly 3 weeks before,
we were open, and then we had to close our doors after investing all of our money into this business.
So it's new, and then so you bought the business over?
Yeah, we actually started it from scratch. So we got the lease, worked, you know, we spent like 3 weeks doing the fit out. We did all the work ourselves just to try to save money. And everything we had, we invested, being, like I said, new to Australia. And also the other thing that kind of really inspired us is Roger's from Syria. This is the second time he's opened his own salon. He's been a hairdresser for 16 years, maybe more. And the first time he lost his salon... the first time he lost his salon because of war. And this time he's like, why is this happening again? Like literally open a salon and then it gets taken away from me. And I thought, well, this is a war, but it's an invisible war. It's a psychological war. And I just thought, well, we shouldn't just... And that I kept thinking about that. I'm like, we have to do something about it.
So you had a hairdresser in Syria?
Yeah.
And so you had to shut the business because of the war?
Yeah.
Who's a better hairdresser, you or the Zohan from Israel?
Maybe me.
And the war begins again.
What about dog salon?
Yeah.
It's open, you know.
Next door we have the dog groomers, and across the road, and we're really happy that they were able to open. They opened 2 weeks ago, but it doesn't make sense that they can open and cut animal hair, but yet human hair is not allowed to be cut. It doesn't make sense to me.
Today we've recorded.
Well, you know, that comparison, Andrew, that you can't cut the hair of Homo sapiens, but you can indeed bring Fluffy and Spot into the pet salon, that's okay. You know, my heart just goes out to anyone in business. It is hard enough, even in good times, sometimes even in booming times, just to get enough money to pay the bills, pay your staff, make a little profit to experience the North American or Australian dream of having a little home. And then these artificial barriers. I think what Joanna said was spot on, an invisible war. That's what this is. This is an invisible war against big government mandating measures that are putting you out of business on the proviso that we're all in this together, but are we really? Are there any public servants that are having their hours cut back or losing their jobs? Are there any politicians taking a pay cut? No, I don't think so. I think that's one of the biggest lies there is. And one final point, we're just maybe a couple of hours away from Premier Ford here in Ontario, folks, announcing that perhaps York region, where I live, so I've got skin in the game, might be going into stage 2, and that means the restaurants close, the fitness facilities close. I'm going to turn into a big fat lump if I'm not already there, Andrew.
I won't comment on that.
If you're pleading the fifth, I'll take it. This is heartbreaking, especially for a premier who, as we've said many times, going back to 2018, the campaign slogans were for the people and Ontario open for business. Well, not open for many business. Sure, the LCBO will stay open, the government-run liquor retailers and the unionized employees of the LCBO, but not other businesses that aren't on the public teat. But getting back to this Australian story, what do you think is going to happen to this salon?
I think that people are, if people were allowed to go out and they weren't so afraid, they'd go and protest it being open. But
sadly,
I think they'll probably be fined, and then maybe we'll have another fight the fines case.
Yes.
Every time I think about how things are getting silly here, I think about Australia, how if you just imagine 100 times fewer cases, but they have lockdowns and 5-kilometer zones you can't go outside of, it's pretty insane. So maybe we will have another fightthefines.com.au case for ourselves if that salon gets fined. But he mentioned in there, don't mess with the Zohan, which is a funny movie, I think. And a lot of us, we talk to Avi on Skype or whatever video program we use, and sometimes he has a tendency to look like The Dictator, the other Sacha Baron Cohen movie. I don't know if we have a picture of The Dictator, Justin, but I wish we had a split screen of Avi and him. He's a suave dresser, that Avi Many, though. I'll give him that.
You know, but I also, you know, going back to there's The Dictator. You know, when we look at that salon, what she said is that if they don't defy the government, if they stay closed, they're going to go out of business. I would argue that regardless of what region business is operating in, Andrew, if indeed it's going to be curtains for you to open, then what do you have to lose? And could you imagine if those gyms and bingo parlors and restaurants and movie theaters in en masse in any kind of lockdown region, if they all opened anyways in defiance of the government, what are they going to do? Are they actually going to find them out of existence? I can tell you from covering the last, I guess, 3 or 4 protests of Yahoo Nation in Toronto, in theory, well, not in theory, as a matter of fact, by law, all of those protesters are liable for an $880 fine, and the organizers are liable for a up to $100,000 fine.
$10 trillion fine.
And nobody has been fined, with the exception of Chris Guy and the lovely Miss Jenny, but that's a different issue. That's breaking the Quarantine Act. So obviously law enforcement had 2 choices to make. We either come in with a shopping cart full of ticket books and give the thousands of people here tickets, or we stand back and we allow them to, and we actually even give them an escort down Yonge Street to peacefully protest, which I think was the right call, because certainly that's what they were doing months ago for protests like Black Lives Matter, because, I don't know, I guess those people aren't yahoos, because Doug Ford is very simpatico with the Wuhan virus and knows that this is a very much a social justice kind of virus, and it would never infect a Black Lives Matter protester.
Yahoo, simpatico, throwing out a lot of old internet providers. But I think some business has to try to stand up to this and take it to court, because if one court case wins and showcases that if not all, but a part of this is not allowed to happen under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, then the floodgates open, then nobody's going to follow the rules, which of course, as Chris Sky points out, is what is likely to happen. If one person takes it all the way up to the Supreme Court, let's say, and it gets proven that it doesn't override the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which I don't believe it does, but I'm no lawyer. Aaron is a resident lawyer. If one person does it, then it could open the floodgates and all of a sudden nobody's going to follow the rules. Just like when Doug Ford made this mask mandate province-wide, it's not a real thing. It's just a suggestion. There's already mask mandates in each in each region. Don't ever do that again.
Speaking
David.
of the mask mandate, how sloppy of me not to put my button on. So
unbelievable of you. At this point, I think I need to mention to like, share, and subscribe here the YouTube video right now, or else I'll get an earful from our web team, and also to go to our Instagram, which is news.rebel, I believe. Also, I'll get an earful if I got that wrong. Moving on, David, do you want to do the next video, or do you want to do super chats?
I think we have super chats that are weighing in on this very issue, so let's take care of business.
Whatever you say, David. Laird Kintyre for $5. Funny how Quebec and Ontario lockdowns are to end after the U.S. election. I dread how Ford and Trudeau will punish Canadians when the USA elects Trump. Now, I'm not sure where you're getting that information from, but I think it's pretty fair to say if once the election happens, things are going to go back to normal. Maybe not here, probably not in Australia, but in the U.S., I think there's going to be a lot less fight back if Trump wins. And maybe if Biden wins, it'll just be completely locked down, masks everywhere, even though he probably can't get away with that.
Please don't even speculate on a Biden win.
I'm going to speculate.
I scare easy.
What else we got here? Pink Phoenix Nails is just $1.49. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
CV says for $2, InfoWars imitation, please. Well, I don't mind doing that. Can we bring up the Rebel News store there, Justin? Maybe we can show one of our new merchandise that we got going. Some new designs from, I think, graphic designer Michael, who's in the house today and every day, essentially.
I wish I had brought my Alex Jones mask. Somebody had given me one at the protest last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, and it's a screaming Alex Jones, but yeah, maybe that's what I can wear for Halloween. Have they canceled Halloween? Do we know yet?
Halloween's been canceled. It's demonic. The deep state wants your COVID 1984 shirts, but we're not going to let them take them. Get your non-iodized toothpaste, your copy of Ezra Levant's book, and the dog shirt that says, "Don't eat me," because patriots do not eat dogs. We eat liberals. No.
And by the way, we had a screenshot of this little button here. They are $10 each, folks. However, I will be at Yonge Dundas tomorrow at noon. Big protest planned by people who are fed up with the economic lockdowns and the masking insanity. And I'll be bringing a bag of hundreds of these badges. We had a very generous donor buy thousands of these badges, and he said, please just give them to the people, just distribute them. And so first come, first serve. You can take two if you want. That's a $20 value if my grade 10 mathematics teaching doesn't fail me. I think I failed grade 11 math.
That's not
it
something
really
you should
got
tell
hard
people.
by then.
You're like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. You finally got your grade 10 and you can get a job. Santa Claus Menzies is going to be out this weekend, it sounds like.
Yes.
Flat Earth data for $6.99. 9 people died in 5 days from COVID-19, but over 1,000 died of cancer. Wake up in capitals or be hoaxed out of your future. Thanks, Rebel. I mean, that's true. A lot of people are dying from other things, and I believe if we stay under 10,500 deaths, I think it's still around 10,000, the annual automotive deaths in Canada per year is around 10,000. So you're taking about as much risk if we stay around the same number by going outside as you are driving a car. So,
well, as a matter of fact, as I
wear your
understand
helmets
it,
while you drive is what I'm saying.
If you're relatively young and healthy, Andrew, I believe the figure is you have a 6 times higher chance of being killed by crossing your neighborhood street by a car than you do of dying of the Wuhan virus. The other thing, this leads to another point, we discussed this the other day too. If Doug Ford is now not so much open for business, the 2018 campaign slogan, but is now saying, well, yeah, I'm pro-business, but health comes first. Health is paramount, public safety. Well, the province of Ontario is in a role to increase the health and the lifespan of Ontarians by one simple thing: remove cigarettes from the store shelves. We know that this is a product, if used as directed, it will likely shorten your life or even kill you outright with lung cancer. So again, if it's all about public safety, why oh why, Premier Ford, is Ontario still selling cigarettes?
Well, that would be taking away your freedom to smoke cigarettes, but something he did yesterday, I believe, it was kind of Trumpy of him to threaten Uber Eats and DoorDash with lowering their prices. You can't just tell people to lower the prices. You know what would fix this would be to open the restaurants. But I guess that they did this on their own under threat of some sort of legislation. I thought that was rather somewhat communist of him to just be like, the government's going to make sure your prices go down. If you don't buy from them. But of course, it would all be much easier if the restaurants were just open. We wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah, and I understand the restaurants in Ontario, they're working on their own delivery app with a very low commission rate.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to go. But yeah, I mean, you know, the more I see coming out of Queen's Park or the Premier's office, the more I think back to I'll say the definitive version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 version of Donald Sutherland. It's like, is this the same guy from 2.5 years ago?
Now, there's a new party in town, David, if you were not familiar.
Right.
I was just going to write in big capital letters. Instead, maybe I'll just write it on David. But it's the New Blue Party, I believe.
New
Jim
Blue.
and Belinda Carahelios. Now, there's rumors on the internets that maybe they can get, who's the other woman? Tanya Granic-Allen?
Yes.
Allen? Maybe
Tanya Granic-Allen, that's right.
If they can get her on their team, then maybe they've got a strong team forming here. I don't know if you want to pull up their website. See, I wouldn't have gone with New Blue. I don't think that's a cool enough name. I could have just went with the Blue Party, in my opinion. But make or break, Dave Menzies, what I think will be the merchandise. If you can come up with some cool merch that's a hot blue, then maybe people will support you more.
Yeah, New Blue kind of sounds like a replacement dog for Don Cherry, right?
Yeah, who knows? He's got 300 clones of his dogs that he's been using over the years. Let's get to some more super
But you know
chats.
what? Names and logos aside, I have a lot of time for Jim and Belinda and Tanya, of course, and I think you're right. I think if they can get some traction, there's a lot of dissatisfied people. I don't have any polling per se, but certainly when I go to Yahoo Nation protests, Andrew.
I thought you were going to say yahoo.com.
No. These are the people that just 2.5 years ago were Ford Nation. Doug Ford came up with that slur, Yahoo, a bunch of Yahoos after the first protest in April on the lawns of Queen's Park. And so it's somewhat perverse that Doug would turn on his own base, and they're not happy about it. I mean, they've embraced the Yahoo term for themselves to use. They're proud to call themselves Yahoo in defiance of Doug Ford. But I could see those people switching their vote to the New Blue Party.
Well, of course, people are fleeing from Doug Ford at this point, and I don't know how many that is, probably a small percentage in the grand scheme of things. I would be one of them who would be like, if I was a staunch Ford supporter, I'd be like, this isn't what you campaigned on at all. But I do see other complaints of people saying you're splitting the vote again, which is a lot of the complaints you get about Maxime Bernier's party, the People's Party.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, vote for who you want. I'm not just going to vote for somebody because it makes sense because they'll win and vote again. I disagree with voting against people in a sense. That's what a lot of people do against Trump in the United States. Oh, who cares if Biden's corrupt and he smells little girls' hair all the time? Let's get Trump out. I don't agree with that. I don't know about you.
But I will I will.
Who are you voting for, Menzies? Tell us.
Yeah, well, let's teleport into the future of 2022, which is several eternities in terms of a political timeline. But I do think when it comes to 2022, I'm going to make a prediction, regardless of what happens between now and then. What do you want to bet, Andrew, that the media right now, the mainstream media types that Doug Ford is so lovey-dovey with, the same media types that he despised for what they did to his late great brother Rob, the harassment that Rob Ford, as mayor of Toronto, received, that seems to be all forgotten. What do you want to bet, Andrew, that these mainstream media types are going to go on a jihad, a journalistic jihad against Ford and the PCs? I think he's in for a shock, but I can see it happen. I know how this plays out.
I will bet your toupee on it.
What toupee? This is the real deal.
It's going to be interesting, though, because if Trudeau goes really, I'm calling him Trudeau now. If Ford goes really,
slip.
Yeah, exactly. If Ford goes into the Liberal waters even more than he has now,
Yeah. I'm glad you modified that sentence.
why would they? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Why would they support the Liberal Party, who has like no party status? Nobody's the leader of it at all. It would be interesting to see. Maybe they'll push more NDP against him, but it is not a far stretch of what you're saying for them to just be like, now that it's time, push comes to shove, we don't care about you, Doug Ford. We've got more.
We do indeed, and thank you for them, folks.
Yes, okay. So, Ju gonna go ahead and say that's a Chinese name. If not, never mind, secret name. $2. They're going after the Commonwealth countries. Canada, Australia, England. Is India still part of the Commonwealth?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
Unbelievable. That's something you're supposed to know. Derek G, $5.
Yeah, I didn't tune into the Commonwealth Games, shockingly, when they were.
You should have. I heard javelin was your favorite sport.
Javelin.
It's all about the oligarchical collectivism UN Sustainable Development Goals. The virus is one pretext to enable it with climate change and racism. One part of that I could point to is the Build Back Better slogan, which I was actually going to do a video about a few weeks ago, but figured that there was more pertinent things to talk about. Joe Biden uses this slogan. Environment Canada has used this slogan. Trudeau has used it. They used it in England as well. There's some sort of UN environmental plan where they call it Build Back Better. It's basically the Green New Deal for the entire world.
Oh,
and it's been used across. There you go. It's basically the Green New Deal for the whole world. And they've been using it in a lot of slogans. And Biden, he's puppeteered enough where he's just like, I'll just make it my slogan.
Could you imagine that, folks? A Green New Deal for the entire world. The American Green New Deal is estimated to have a price tag of $93 trillion with a T dollars.
To be fair, that's over like 10 years, which is still triple the federal budget.
Just put it on the installment plan like my car then, right? It's
in order to pay for it,
ever.
they have to double income tax every year, which is doubling taxes.
But imagine the sticker shock looking at the price tag for a worldwide Green New Deal. But a funny thing, a sidebar note to that, one of the silver linings, and there hasn't been much, folks, of the Wuhan virus, is that these eco freaks and Greta Thunberg and for a while the racism social justice warriors, they kind of went into hibernation mode, right? Like when there was this real clear and present danger, and I don't mean necessarily of people dying of the Wuhan virus, I mean of people losing their livelihood, people losing their jobs. When that kicked in, suddenly that was put to the back burner, but it's coming back now, isn't it?
Well, some of them are glad that has happened because it's caused less of a carbon footprint. And when I went to the climate protest in downtown Toronto a few weeks ago, that's what one woman said, that no going back to normal, and if that costs people's business. And I was just referring to the businesses in the immediate vicinity that they were blocking from getting business with their protest. She said she didn't care if all the businesses don't come back, because whatever it takes, David Menzies, to get the new eco-fascism rolling through.
Oh, well, I went to the eco-protest the week after yours, Andrew, and it was the one that was jet fighter.
Yes.
Because, can you believe it, folks? Tesla hasn't come up with an all-electric jet fighter, and those
will.
jet fighters have really serious carbon footprints. We got to get those out of the way.
Eco bombs, eco missiles. They just explode with love.
Yeah, we're not making this up, folks. They were worried about the carbon footprint of fighter jets. Anyways.
Maddie B 300 for $5. Have you seen or heard about the bacon-scented masks from Hormel Foods? LOL
No.
question mark? I don't know. You got some masks there.
Yes, I don't-
Justin's way on this. Justin's been waiting for us to talk about this, apparently.
Wow. I wouldn't buy into any of this because it almost normalizes this horrible new normal, which is absolutely abnormal. The idea of putting sports logos on your mask, animal teeth to make it look like it's a year-round Halloween mask, corporate logos, now bacon-scented. Wouldn't that be... I would find that, if I was dieting, I would find that torturous to always
Probably
have
be
the scent of
nauseating at some
bacon,
point.
right? And we've kind of left out a couple of groups there that aren't really into bacon.
I don't know what you mean, David Menzies. David Menzies
not
does
gonna
not
like it.
represent the ideas and opinions of this network. Mark ZZ for £5. I plead for Canada to have a new trade deal with the UK after Brexit, if it actually happens. Your thoughts? The thing about that is they're not China, so we can't be that friendly to them. We have to, China first in our country, then Canada, somewhere around 4th or 5th, I believe, is the standing of Justin Trudeau's federal party. Agree or disagree, David?
Well, China is indeed the kind of basic dictatorship that he admires. And, and going back to Doug Ford, we were going to have a few weeks ago the raising of the communist flag of China on the lawns of Queen's Park, the legislature, and Rick Nichols, the deputy speaker, was going to say something, and I can't imagine it was words of condemnation for China, which China so richly deserves. And when there was public outcry, thank goodness, about this, slap in the face to democracy and common decency, the Ford government said, we've canceled it. Oh, not because of the public outcry, folks. Safety concerns, gatherings, that Wuhan virus. And also, don't take it the wrong way, mandarins in Beijing. This isn't against you. The ban is for all flag raising. Can you believe this kind of cowardice that we have to put up with?
It's the same thing they tried to say for the 9/11 ceremony in New York. Oh, it's too dangerous to have people go out there and do this.
Yeah.
Well, apparently these flag raisings used to happen all the time, and I guess we just sort of started noticing because the focus is on China more so. I say no more Chinese flags. I mean, I have known many Chinese people that were my friends, but the state of China, the country, the government of China, no more. I say it's gone past. No more dealing with China.
Hopefully that goes without saying. When we rant here at Rebel News about China, it's not the people of China. The people of China are the biggest victims of the Chinese Communist Party. No, it is, as Andrew says, it is the government of China.
I have a theory, though. If you think about all the social justice warriors who have created the far-left movement in the Western world, in the United States, what if China was actually just a country of social justice warriors that actually got their way? Because if you look at back through the Maoist era, they act exactly the way social justice warriors do at marches and protests today. They shove signs in your face. They say, "Why aren't you holding the book of Mao? Don't you love the leader?" It's all the children, the school children rising up against their teachers. Maybe it's time you rise up against your teachers.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that you see this kind of indoctrination here. Whether it's social media, whether it's celebrities, sports stars, and education. When your children, I know of conservative households where, the mother and father are conservative, but the children are the polar opposite. And it's because of all the indoctrination that goes on through all those facets right here in Canada or the US, not in China.
It's because there's no dignity left in playing it down the middle if you're a journalist or a teacher anymore. You're doing the right thing. So you got to send those kids to that climate protest and you got to tell them that Trump's evil. The super chats are piling in. Let's get to
Beautiful.
David's Yonge and Dundas protest. Let's see if we can play the intro of that. That just started airing a bit ago, didn't it?
Oh, I think you're right. It had a premiere just earlier on. And when you heard Andrew and I speak of the Yahoo Nation, well, here are the Yahoos in all their glory.
AOL Nation now, I think.
Are you worried you'll be fined?
No, because this is the third time I've been here, and they always say, oh, we're going to fine you, but no one's ever gotten fined here. The only guy that's gotten fined was Chris Sky.
It's almost like I predicted this exact thing on video multiple times.
And we're talking decades of family businesses right now that are being forced to close. They finally think they have a shred of hope, and now they're being locked down again, phase 2. This is absolutely unacceptable.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. And folks, before we get to our story today, if you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. If you're able to, make a donation. Sometimes we have to pay lawyers, sometimes it's bodyguards, but it's worth it when it comes to bringing you the other side of the story. Well, I'm here at Yonge Dundas Square, and you know this is the weekend of Thanksgiving, but I'll tell you, if you live in Toronto or Ottawa or Peel region, there's precious little to be thankful for. Why? Well, Premier Doug Ford yesterday slapped these regions back into stage 2. And what does that mean? Well, here's just a partial list of what's closed. And remember, folks, many of these businesses are already just hanging on by their fingertips thanks to the first smackdown. But the closures include indoor dining and drinking at restaurants, bars, nightclubs, and food courts inside malls, indoor gyms and fitness facilities, indoor movie theaters, indoor performing arts centers and venues, spectator areas in racing venues, and casinos, bingo halls, and gaming establishments. Now, get a load of what's open. By the way, that's just a partial list, too. Schools, daycares, retailers, places of worship, outdoor gyms and fitness centers. But you know, it just doesn't really make sense, does it? It's so arbitrary. I mean, how does closing a restaurant or gym and not a big box store make any sense at all when it comes to the curtailing the spread of the Wuhan virus? And then why is a movie theater a breeding ground for the virus but not a place of worship such as a church, a synagogue, a mosque? And when it comes to the closure of gyms, that is especially concerning. Aren't we being told, even by government ads, that we got to get out, we got to get fit, we have to stop the spread of obesity and diabetes? How does closing down a business that specializes in wellness, if you will, help out anyone? You know, I look at so many of these closures. Again, don't go to the gym, but I guess stay at home and just go in the basement and bake a cherry cheesecake. By the way, speaking of Premier Ford, I'm going to quote Greta Thunberg here. How dare you? How dare you? I mean, do you not remember the slogans of your 2018 election campaign? You remember? For the people and Ontario open for business. How is this for the people?
Doug Ford looks great in his kitchen, doesn't he?
I guess it went on a little long with that intro, eh? We should have cut to more people complaining instead of me.
Wow, David Menzies.
Right? No, but it drives me crazy.
Head to firedavidmenzies.com today. Get your Fire David Menzies t-shirt.
Let's hope that one gets deplatformed. But, you know, but Andrew, can you argue with some of the points I raised? The idea that a place of worship, okay, a movie theater or bingo parlor, not. A restaurant, not okay, but some of those other venues that were discussed is okay. Then again, I guess on the flip side, we didn't go down the Governor Newsom road of put your mask on in between bites as
I'm sure that's coming.
have your lunch or dinner.
Well, a lot of this is in theory, not in practice. The singing loudly causes more droplets. Sure, it probably does, but this hasn't proven to cause, like everything that they've claimed has been proven false so far, or they just had no evidence. They had no evidence for masks, no actual studies saying it prevents the spread of viruses. They're just going off of what they thought was a good idea for flu pandemics. Didn't pan out. Lockdowns didn't pan out. Yep. None of the ideas that they've tried so far have panned out. So it's time we reveal the people behind the secret curtain of Doug Ford's secret round table gatherings of people who are you know, in The Simpsons when they have all the group of evil people together talking, Mr. Burns and everybody. Who are these doctors? We didn't vote for them. Why can't we know who they are at the very least?
No, I think you've really touched upon a very profound point here, Andrew, about these people in the circle of Doug Ford that seem to be making the decisions for Doug Ford, because I can tell you, 48 hours before Toronto, Peel Region, and Ottawa went into stage 2 lockdown, Doug Ford was publicly saying he's not a fan of this. He doesn't want to, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he doesn't want to be the death knell for gyms and restaurants just barely hanging on.
They were promoting movie theaters, I thought.
Yeah. So what happened in the space of 2 days, Andrew, that suddenly, well, folks, the science says we got to shut this down?
And when they're, like you mentioned earlier, how there's York Region's on the teetering on the edge of being bad people. What's the number then? What's the number we're waiting to go over here so that we can know for sure if this goes over that, and we can question your numbers when it does happen? If it's 700 active cases a day or whatever it may be, to let us know what are we teetering on the edge of, if not just, you know, totalitarianism.
It's a moving target as far as I can tell. And the science, and you know what, Andrew, I go back to March 8th, Dr. Anthony Fauci in the United States saying, do not wear a mask. Basically, that's going to be more harm than good. And then within weeks, you better mask up. I don't think the science in terms of viruses changed in the space of a few weeks.
Well, the argument they will say against that is, well, they didn't want a mask shortage. But all that, and if that's true, then all that proves is that they're willing to lie to get what they want.
But okay, and I'll give you another rebuttal to that. Non-medical masks, they say. Well, if it's a non-medical mask, if it's something a doctor or nurse wouldn't use in a hospital because it's useless, then how do you think it's going to be effective when you and I are sitting beside each other?
I'll go devil's advocate on you again. They would say, because I don't believe in this, but they would say that it's stopping the droplets. Your material, whatever it may be, is stopping the droplets. But not your breath, obviously.
Could you whisper so you're not speaking so moistly?
That's true. And then something Trump mentioned in his town hall yesterday was a study I included in a video soon to come, is that they did a study of 11 different hospital facilities in the United States with people who had COVID-19, and 85% of them either always wore a mask or most of the time wore a mask. It was often and always, but those people still got COVID-19 and were hospitalized for COVID-19, even though it was 71% of the people that always wear masks in this study still got coronavirus. So how effective is it? It's still, most people have said that you're only preventing 15% of getting out of your mask. Forget the fact that you're breathing it back in is not good for you, but it seems to line up exactly what people have predicted. And to take it a step further, David Menzies, writer Dave, not you, writer Dave and I have looked into the actual effectiveness of masks in environments like surgery rooms. There's actually no studies that prove that does anything either. So if it doesn't do anything in the most sterile environments.
And you know, when we come to the microverse,
which we do.
Yes, well, and you know, I always get a chuckle when you see these cleaning products like a Lysol spray, and it says on the can, proven to be 99.99% effective. Well, when you're a virus, it's that 0.01%. That is the real devil in the details. So, anyways, I think we have some more super chats,
sure
Andrew.
Do. iTech Manager for $5. Thanks, guys. I keep missing protests against lockdown in Toronto. Could you please post upcoming ones on your website so we don't miss them? No, we can't, because then we're liable for who's in charge or what happens. But it's safe to say that there's usually one every Saturday.
Yes, Saturday. It used to be Saturday at noon at Queen's Park. They have since switched to Yonge Dundas Square. And for all of those bemoaning the cancellation of the official Toronto Santa Claus Parade in November that's been going for, I'm pretty sure, over a century, Chris Sky is putting on the unofficial Toronto Santa Claus Parade on Saturday, December 5th at Nathan Phillips Square, that City Hall. And you know, and here's the thing, Andrew, I can't see any crackdown of the unofficial Santa Claus parade when back in June we had those thugs who comprised Afro-Indigenous
Your favorite
Rising.
group.
Yeah, well,
can't get
yours
enough of
too. I remember we have
don't
video of
scare
you
me.
literally running away.
That's not true.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have video of that. Unbelievable fake news, David
We
Menzies.
do.
Not true. You can see me standing there surrounded by 15 of their gargoyles because they're that hideous, where they're just like, and I stand there destroying their arguments because they have nothing. They have teenage kids who are out there exploiting homeless people and an old woman who's just like, you're on stolen land. And I ask her to explain it, and she's like, oh, you don't know? So you tell me, David Menzies, that I was running away from
I'm
these
not trying to
losers.
depict you as the cowardly lion. My point, Andrew, is simply this.
Unbelievable.
If you have a bunch of people like that spending 3 weeks in the public square breaking 11 sections of the Trespass Act, and you turn a blind eye to it until you finally lay down the law, and I think we were a big part in having the city lay down the law. We embarrassed John Tory when we went there because we don't bend the knee. We went there all hands on deck. It was one of our most glorious moments, I think. And we had bodyguards, we had several cameramen, and we said to the police, we are going into the town square, which is what Nathan Phillips Square is, and we are going to conduct journalism, and we finally got our way, although we needed armed police at the time. My point is, you can't say yes to Afro-Indigenous, people that are prone to violence, and no to a unofficial Santa Claus parade. But who knows? We'll see how that plays out in December 5th.
And if you want to know about these protests, just go follow some Chris Sky on Instagram. He's posting hot pics. One pic is him looking hot. The next one is about protests and stuff. So you're covered in both. Mark Leselier, you like that pronunciation, David?
Wow.
$20, which is a huge donation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Building back Rebel News finance better with this $20 green bill. Yes. Although we are trying to shift to only, that's one of the conspiracies for coronavirus. Paperless currency conspiracy. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's amazing how, I noticed this at when you look at drive-thrus. Not only do they want you to use your plastic, but it's just
put it
so
on a
funny.
stick to give it to you?
On a stick, and they're wearing gloves. It's like they're dealing with molten lead.
The plastic that they've, or the cellophane or whatever it is that they've put over the debit machine, that's going to have more bacteria on it. You're just withholding the bacteria on the surface as opposed to just wiping it off after. It makes no sense.
Listen to Dr. Chapados.
I'm not a doctor, I just play one on TV. Just like Neil Patrick Harris, Doogie Howser. There's a reference for you.
Yeah.
MCG Fishing, $1 with no message. Thank you. Proud Boys Calgary, $7. I'm probably going to be sent to the COVID camps next year. Join the real Canadian Proud Boys and have a beer with me before I go. And I'm not going to say your website.
But you know what I think?
ProudBoysCanada.com. I don't care. You paid.
We always say his website, Andrew, and he
it's
just
one
gave us
guy?
a generous donation.
It's
so
one guy?
Shame on you.
I'm not shilling for you or anyone, David Menzies, all right? I said the website. He
Okay.
paid. Enoch for £5, which is exactly 10,000 Canadian dollars. Don't quote me on that.
I'm doing the math.
Hi from Israel. Under full fascism, I am out of my main job on Sunday when it reopens. All preschool staff are mandated to be tested. I refuse. Good. If you don't want to be tested, then refuse. I don't think they can make you. I don't know the laws in Israel, though, so I could be completely wrong. But you can go by the statistics of people under 20 dying, which is approximately 0 to 2 in Canada. So,
I tell you, Andrew, I could sure use a vacation like so many other people could. But here's the problem. Where do you go in the world where you don't have to run into this similar kind of madness? If anyone can suggest...
Wuhan, China, basically, right now.
Maybe. Why not, right? But I might not get out of China. That's the
true.
problem.
David Menzies is definitely being sent to internment camps in China. Oh, David Menzies. Peter Bass, $2. David's such a great mentor for the junior rebels. You know what, David? As a 19-year-old myself, you've been a great mentor. I'm sure you've mentored Mocha on how to survive a coup in Turkey. And shout out to young Lincoln, who's one of our video editors / cameraman. I told him I'd give him a shout out. Ladies, he's single.
Well, listen, I'm not going to go there, but I will say whether it's Lincoln or Efren or Mocha.
Let's not forget young Alex and Michael as well.
Yeah, and Ishmael, who pitches in from time to time. I'll use a Sheila Gunn Reid quote here. We don't deserve them. They are so hardworking and they are so talented. And what they put together on a budget that is a tiny fraction of what CBC uses with your tax dollars, I might add, folks, is absolutely fantastic. And by the way, I alluded to that, what I thought is the most important video in our 5-year history, where we take back Nathan Phillips Square. If you look at that production, folks, that's where their talents really shine through, I think.
We don't deserve you, David, and like me, we don't want you either. Can we bring up this photo that a guy sent in to us? His name was Jack McLaren. Now, I believe it's Queen's University is renaming one of their halls. I'm not sure if it's a lecture hall or what it is, but this man's name is Jack McLaren, and he is throwing out his Queen's University, not diploma, a degree at a university, because I'm so low class, I don't know what that is. He's throwing out his degree here because he's disgusted with the actions of the university. And I say, good. If you're going to criminalize our first prime minister and hold him to a standard of 200 years later, when everyone could have been conceivably considered a horrible person back in the day because you're, I don't know, punching oxen in the face or something. Yeah. And bring up our website that we've got. We've got a campaign, big Tamara Ugolini campaign that we've got going, Save John A, because they're taking down statues across the country, they're changing school names. We could use more signatures on it, and Tamara is going out to cover more of that this weekend, I believe, or as I call her, Tammy, because she doesn't like it because it sounds like it's from a trailer park.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what makes this so troubling, Andrew, is that we're talking about Queens being in the city of Kingston, and that is where Sir John A. Macdonald spent so many years of his life. And it reminds me of a couple of years ago, there was a pub there. I think its name was the Sir John A. It was the actual law office. So
Nice.
much history of our first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald. And I'm going to be honest, folks, I spoke to the restaurateur, super nice guy. I think I might have had the best hamburger I've ever consumed. But it broke my heart that this entrepreneur, this gentleman, bent the knee to the mob who demanded he change the name, and he changed the name. And this was the actual building that housed Sir John A. Macdonald's law office. This is so depressing. It's so infuriating. And maybe if that's what has to happen to take a stand, I'll also say, more than burning your diploma, if there are any Queen's alumni out there that are donating to Queen's, you want to send a message? Write to the dean and say, the tap is off. That's it.
Write the
I'm
check for
done
a cent.
giving you money. That, my friends, gets results.
Maybe we should change the name of Queens. We can't support the Queen anymore.
Well, that's next.
Call it Persons University.
Well, that's the problem on a slippery slope. Where does it end? It never ends. And when you acquiesce to the mob, it's never enough.
That's a good word.
You know,
nothing less we expect from Dave Menzies.
I'll quit
SA
while I'm
for
ahead.
$13.99, another big donation. What's the
Thank
point
you.
of elections if politicians are controlled by unelected individuals, media, education, medical experts? Now, I agree with that. We shouldn't be taking cues from medical people on everything. They don't have experience in running an electorate. I was having a conversation with somebody about this just today. About what's the point of these elections? It's an illusion of choice. Well, to that I say, it is possible to know who these people are, these politicians or judges or police chiefs. You can't just say, oh, the system's rigged. There's no point in participating at all. Because at some point, like people always say Game of Thrones. I don't watch that, but you start to know the...
Should.
I'll do what I want, David Menzies, all right? Don't tell me what to do, old man. Once you start to know the players of the game and who's doing what, then you know their histories, their leanings, their decisions, and you can say that this person's a bad guy. Jagmeet Singh's the coolest politician of all time. And it doesn't necessarily...
Is that your opinion?
That's your opinion, actually. I read your blog. So my point is, once you know who's involved, it doesn't become a game of everyone in the Republican Party is evil. You start to notice that maybe there's some people who do stuff and some people who are just there for the paycheck, or some people that have influence from, let's say, the NRA, even though that's very little money, as it turns out, Marco Rubio, for example. And you start to get who's in it for the money and who's in it for actual freedom, let's say. So I disagree with the notion that everything's blanket useless and everyone's predetermined, and it may have been at one point in time. but I wasn't privy to that knowledge, let's say, when Barack Obama was being elected, but I am privy to that knowledge now, where I can say, okay, they're getting paid and funded by these people, the George Soroses and whom have you.
Well, I'll tell you, the only exclamation mark I have to that is that Game of Thrones is indeed a wonderful series, with the exception of one episode involving a very climactic battle scene that seemed to be filmed in complete darkness.
I saw the last
Even
two
when I
episodes.
watched it on a 4K TV with a 4K DVD, the director should have been fired for that. But other than that episode, good stuff.
How did you watch the new episode on DVD?
What's that?
How did you watch the newest episode on DVD?
I went to a store and I bought the DVD.
So this must have been months later.
Yes.
Whatever, David Menzies. Switching gears, because David Menzies angers me, can we throw up that first minute of the 2 town halls last night where Trump absolutely slayed? I think, objectively, the moderator there was trying to get him on anything she could, and she couldn't. And everybody in the background, and even the people asking questions, were on Trump's side. I think they had one guy who's a sad-looking individual, who's a confirmed Biden voter, and even one woman who came up and said she was Republican but was leaning towards Biden, said that before she even asked her question, she said, "President Trump, you're such a handsome man, you should smile more because you have a beautiful smile." And that's a supposed Biden voter. So if we want to show the minute clip here, the juxtaposition of the two town halls, go ahead there, JT.
I stopped doing big meetings. I started wearing masks. So it was at a time when the science was saying.
And I agree
but
with
there's not a satanic pedophile cult being run by.
I know nothing
you don't know
about
that? Okay.
No, I don't know
you
that.
Just this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay, just this week
Why
retweeted.
are you asking me about Antifa?
Depending on the continuation of the spread of the virus, we should be thinking about making it mandatory.
How could you enforce that?
Well, you couldn't. That's the problem. Just like you can't enforce measles. You can't come to school unless you have a measles shot.
And you've done this to
Why
me and
does
everybody.
it seem like
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
You did
I
2 days
denounce
later.
white supremacy.
There's actually real live debate on the floor.
It's about wearing masks and having, for example, your
But
rallies.
I know this.
Your rallies
As
don't
an
require
example,
masks.
No, I mean, let's see Kamala. She's got people.
There's no record of you calling for social distancing, limited social gatherings, mandatory masks.
Not back then.
In January, February.
No, in
Right.
January, February. No, that's correct. There wasn't. That came at the end of March, and then I laid out a detailed plan.
100,000
That 2 million figure, though, is if you literally
saved 2
did
million
nothing.
people.
The 2 million figure is if you did absolutely nothing, it would be 2 million. The question is, should
Now, the ratings that they had on Just TV, I believe Biden won by 600,000 peak viewers, but obviously that doesn't count internet viewerships, where I read where Biden had just over 1 million on one live stream, and then Trump had over 1 million on 3 different live streams. Obviously, primetime hours, Trump's going to win in that setting.
Well, I think the last poll I saw shows that Biden is ahead by 11%. Do you believe that?
Of course.
You know,
Hillary Clinton, 99% chance. They knew that wasn't realistic this time, so they got to go with like a smaller margin. And if you wanted to throw the B-roll that I sent you, Justin, of Joe Biden speaking to vehicles,
that's brilliant.
His drive-in rallies now that he's got, where like nobody's showing up here. Trump supporters are showing up. There's actually a good clip that I forgot to send in where somebody's waving a Trump flag in Joe Biden's face as he speaks. But now, since nobody's showing up and they don't want to show an empty lot in front of them, they've done drive-ins. That is not the video.
Yeah,
they've done
that is an amazing clip.
30 cars at Ohio drive-in rally. Very cool. Now that you can't, so that's maximum. What's 30 times 4, David Menzies? 120 people, maybe 150 people if we got 5 people in every car. So, an exuberant crowd for Joe Biden to forget where he is, say he's running for the Senate. I don't know.
Do we indeed have that clip of him speaking to cars?
I mean, they only show it in one clip. I think it's in one of them. But they try not to show the audience at all at any of his rallies because there's nobody there. And well,
the cars were there.
The cars were there.
Oh, and Andrew, this just in: Joe Biden, it is confirmed, now has 82% of the Transformer vote. So there you go. I think the strategy paid off well.
John Cena?
Speaking to all those SUVs.
Very cool. There he is. Yeah, if you just want to skim through that. They're in the desert. Nobody's there.
I wonder if the cars were running their AC. Wouldn't that be kind of against this whole Green New Deal?
Well, Joe Biden's against the Green New Deal, but on his website he's for it. He doesn't know. He's wearing his mask around his chin.
Yeah, no nose covering there.
I'm running for Senate. He's very confused. But to his credit, when he's doing the town hall and when he was doing the debate, he seems very lucid. He seems like he knows what's going on. He's been pumped full of vitamins, I'm sure. So yeah, in Nevada, in the desert. They never cut to the crowd because nobody's there. Now, back when Hillary was running, they would just show a really tight shot of 200 people in a gymnasium to act as if everybody was there. For Biden, they can't even do that because there's 12 people there and 11 are his staff.
You know,
he's got a soccer team.
I was in a Toronto bookstore a few days ago.
That's not allowed.
There was yeah, evidently. And in the remainder bin, there was the Joe Biden autobiography, Promises to Keep. And I thought, what a perversely ironic title that is. He's been a career politician for 47 years. You still need time to keep promises? It's been almost half a century, man.
His greatest accomplishment is becoming vice president, and then you could argue that he helped with Obamacare, which is a terrible program. So, there's yet to be somebody answer the question, what has he accomplished? And they can actually say something. Well, he was there. He was in office. That's an accomplishment, as much as Nancy Pelosi being in office is an accomplishment. If you want more on the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden story, scroll down a little bit on our page, and you can see my latest video on that.
It's a good one.
Thank you, David. We got some more super chats. Where did we leave off here? We got a lot more. Wolfcat Wildcat, interesting name, $5. COVID/conservative/wrong think camps. Yes, that came out. That some things are conspiracies and they annoy the hell out of me, but other things aren't. And the random camps that they've proposed happen, which already exist in Quebec, they've admitted. In Australia, their facilities, I don't know if they're camps, but they're facilities for people that are supposed to be for quarantine and who are foreigners coming into the country and they don't have a place for them to stay. Yep. They don't want to put them in hotels. That's what it's supposed to be for.
Although it doesn't spell that out.
I don't even know how to spell, so even if it did. No, of course, there could be demonic and nefarious reasons for it, but that's the official reason is all I'm saying. Take that as you will. $15 from the Blazer, 55. Huge donations. Thank you, people. Quote, no quantified virus isolates of the 2019 nCoV are currently available, end quote. Page 39 of the CDC document, and then a whole bunch more stuff that you can search if you click on his chat in the chat there. So yeah, the CDC says lots of stuff. Their study, the one that I was citing about masks, that's a CDC study. So all of their stuff is in plain English on their websites. People just don't want to believe it. That's why if somebody tells me to put on a mask somewhere, I say, state your science.
Then again, that sounds like a lot of reading, folks. I'm going to pass that one over to Sheila Gunn Reid.
Yeah, she's a lot smarter than both of us. Matt B, 300 for $5. The Public House is what it is called now. Unfortunately, he is closing down. My only guess is that...
It's closing down!
My only guess is that he had to change the name, or he felt he had to change the name because his clientele is all these students, and they would rage if he didn't.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I believe when he was just trying to...
Be cool?
Not even that. He was just trying to seek the path of least resistance. He wasn't trying to make waves. It's tragic, and it just goes to show you, so we acquiesced to the mob, and now if that is true that he's shutting down, that's a shame, because I thought it was a fantastic pub and the best burger I've ever had, and now obviously the name change didn't work, or maybe it's because of this Wuhan virus lockdown madness, but that is sad. I wasn't rooting against him even though he took the name down. But I'm really distressed to hear that.
Would David Menzies ever open his own pub or restaurant?
Oh, jeez, no.
Called the Menzoid.
For about 7 years of my life, I worked for trade publications that covered the food service and hospitality business. And the one thing I learned is not to go into that business. And the second thing is to admire everyone in that business for making a living. It is so hard to succeed. I believe at the time, 80% of new restaurant startups fail in the first 3 years. And that is in a good economy, not this nonsense we have right now. But I digress. More super chats.
I think every group of male friends gets drunk and says, "We should open a bar, man."
Well, part of the problem was
does.
shows like Cheers, where they just show everybody hanging around having fun. They don't see all the hard work that comes with running a pub.
David, they don't always know your name, all right? It's just Lou Elaine does for $5. Hello, David and Andrew. That's very nice of you.
Thank you.
Me C for $5. Love Rebel. Love your on the street coverage. Apparently holding camps in Manitoba. So sad regarding Doug Ford. Yeah, we're going to see them everywhere. I mean, I'm sure they're getting a government contract, so that's why people are saying, well, we need one too. Me C for another $2. Forgot to say a big thank you. You're welcome. Signed, David Menzies. Primpal08, $5. If the Dems had a commanding lead, they wouldn't be panicking like Pelosi's CNN meltdown. Yeah, have you seen this where they're going after Wolf Blitzer? Robo-Wolf?
Wolf Blitzer.
All he knows how to say is tonight. And they're going after poor Wolf.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He's been there for 100 years. And Nancy Pelosi's, you and your colleagues are always siding with the Republicans. Oh, is that what they've been doing?
Holy shoot the messenger,
Wolf
Batman.
Blitzer's just thinking about his lunch, let alone supporting Republicans. Goonies 2 for $5. CCP Muppets, much rebel news. CCP Muppets, much rebel news, ? Those in Melbourne say your Avi reports are BS. Play Canadians into camps, much rebel? Lazy or traitors? Which is it? That's a lot of question marks. Let's try to break that down. Muppets, great. I like Muppets.
Who's your favorite Muppet, Andrew?
I want to just go straight Gonzo, but I like a lot of them, to be frank. Is Kermit's a great, stuff like that. Oh, Kermie.
Okay.
Sorry, you didn't ask for the impressions. Much rebel news. It sounds like a much music program. Those in Melbourne say your Avi reports are BS. If Avi going and getting arrested for no reason is BS, then I suggest you try it yourself. I don't know what's BS about them. We talk to him every day. Most of what he says we can understand through his accent. But I don't know what would be BS. He's out there now. He's getting people on camera who have gotten ridiculous fines, and we're trying to help them just like we do in Canada. I'm not one to just say things, to shill for things, but I'm sorry, but defending people's rights to do what they want and their freedom is good. Is a good thing to do.
I agree, and certainly the civil liberties associations aren't doing that work. And when it comes to Goonies 2, I mean, the sad fact of the matter is, folks, I think this was a person who was a fan, who is now a hater, because he sent something Sheila Gunn Reid's way. And
you recognize the person?
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought you were just referencing the movie.
And it was a nothing burger, and this person has been resentful about that all the time. But you know what? The fact that we're still reading that shows you that we don't play the game cbc.com or .ca plays when they post a news story and comments are disabled for this article, right? Yeah, they'll take our money, in other words, but we don't want to hear from the great unwashed masses of taxpayers. So there you go. We'll take the nice words from so many people, and we'll take the criticism. Well, I can tell. Wow,
Email
2
me,
minutes over
see what
time.
happens.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for filling in with me. It wouldn't be the same without you.
Oh.
And thank you to our producer, Justin, behind the wall there. And folks, thank you for tuning in. And a special super thanks to all of you who gave a super chat. We really depend on your donations to bring you the other side of the story. And if you can, come out tomorrow, noon, Yonge Dundas Square, say hello. I'll give you a couple of these beautiful yellow badges. In the meantime, one more super chat under the wire, Andrew.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram and all our social media. I'm at Andrew Does on Instagram, just saying. Goonies 2, no, that was the same one. Matty B again for $10. Thank you, Matt. Sorry, correction. He is selling 2 properties. He's looking to retire. Look at the Kingston Whig Standard article. Just Google Public Health Kingston closing. Have a good day, guys. From Kingston, thank you for that information. David Menzies is thankful for that.
And I wish him a happy retirement. In the meantime, everybody have a great weekend and stay sane.
Be alert.